Hello, folks. This is the What Are You All About podcast. I'm Elijah. Today, I was talking with Zach from Convictions. We talked about a lot of things, everything from how he started drumming to his faith journey to how Convictions was started to one of the funniest tour stories ever. So it was a blast. I forgot to record video for most of it if you're watching this because I was so preoccupied with the new sound setup that I was doing. So it sounds better than previous episodes will, but I was gonna post video and I've only got like 15 seconds of video of the Convictions headquarters from when I finally remembered that I forgot to record video. So it was a blast though, and besides all that, my younger, well, not just younger, my siblings were. They added a little bit of background noise to brighten up things a bit, so you might hear a little bit of that. And anyway, let's get right into it. Hello, folks. I'm Elijah, and today we've got Zach, the drummer for Convictions. How are you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Not bad. So this is the podcast where we talk about what folks are about and what are the stories behind that. So, Zach, what are you about, and what is the story that kind of led you to that, if that makes sense?
What am I about? So,
Yes.
just a little bit about me. I've been drumming for probably 16 years or so.
Oh wow.
My dad taught me the basics, and then I pretty much went from there.
Nice.
My life pretty much revolves around drumming, my wife, my day job, the band. Um, that's pretty much, and obviously my faith,
Yeah.
as you can hear in Convictions. So, um, yeah, man, pretty much just growing up loving the drums, which brought me to Convictions, you know, touring, and I miss it.
Yeah. I remember you guys came through to Edinburgh. I think it was in 2019.
Yeah,
And at that point, I didn't go because I couldn't figure out who I'd go to a show like that with. But now I was just like, mate, I should have gone to that. But
yeah, that was fun. I was gonna ask you if you went when we came through.
yeah, I wish I had, but I didn't.
Yeah,
So
that's all good.
with drums, at what point did you start playing metal stuff? Like for me, I started drumming at 9, and as soon as I heard metal stuff when I was 11, I was like, I want to play this. So I played it really terribly, and I'm still not that great at it, but I can do all right with some aspects of it. But for you, kind of what was that process like of learning the basics
Yeah, so
and
I didn't.
then, yeah.
Yeah, so I started drumming when I would say I was probably around your that same age, like 9 or 10, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit younger. My dad had taught me a few beats, and then I kind of probably didn't pursue it much. I think
Yeah.
then right around like 10, 11, and 12, I wanted to try and play guitar. So my parents put me in guitar lessons, and I wouldn't really practice that much. I was out like playing baseball, riding my dirt bike, or whatever kids do
Yeah.
at that time, playing Nintendo 64. So
Yeah.
like, um, I, so then I didn't really start picking it back up till I was probably about 13, 14. Then I really started
Yeah.
getting into it because I remember I'd come home like after basketball practice and play drums in my basketball shoes. That's how I remember for sure. And then um, when I became 16, I really started getting into it. I was like playing in the pep band at in high school, and starting to play with like random kids that went to school, like trying to form bands like we'd say we would, and we'd practice, like we'd jam a few times, you know how that goes. um and that's when I was really getting into it, learning new beats, learning new things. But it wasn't really metal for me back then. I was playing a lot of like pop punk and emo. Probably like the heaviest stuff would have been like Silverstein and Senses Fail and like these like older like screamo emo bands, you know, like
Yeah.
um and then like when we started Convictions, even I was like, I don't really play this kind of music. like I liked it, don't get me wrong, because like we started Convictions later on, and like 2010 is when we first started like jamming. We didn't put out a record until like 2012, I think, was the first record. So like jamming and stuff. And I guess I should backpedal a little bit. I played in this band called Run Into the Shadows, which was heavy. Like we did screaming and singing. It was like during the kind of the MySpace days, where it was like emo, but still we had metalcore kind of parts as well. So, and I loved playing it. I loved playing the breakdowns, you know, and that was like between 2006 to 2009, somewhere in there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like me, yeah, maybe early 2010, and so that like era of music. And then actually right after that, we tried to do this pop punk project with a girl singer, kind of like Paramore meets 4 Year Strong, and that was called Kids in the Making, and that was short-lived. That was in like 2010, EP with Andrew Wade, so I knew him, which we did I Won't Survive and Convictions with Andrew Wade. So kind of coming back full circle. So yeah, and that, like I said, that was just short-lived. So when the opportunity came by with Convictions, like the band starting and they needed a drummer, like I did have experience playing breakdowns and heavier stuff, so with my previous band. So but yeah, I mean, and obviously we've evolved over the past 10 years. So but yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah. So, what was the start of Convictions like? Was it whose idea was it to start it, and how did that exactly happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in 2010, we started jamming together, but how it came together, and this was late 2010, it came together with Josh and I are basically the only original members.
Yeah.
So and then my buddy Dan, who was I'm still very, very good friends with him. He was the best man at my wedding a couple months ago. And he was the original vocalist who's on the first album, I Am Nothing. So they basically came to me and said, hey, we're looking for a drummer. And I was like, oh man, do I want to start this thing from scratch again? You know, like I said, I was just in those two previous bands. And I was like, I'll think about it. And like, they're like, we're going to be a Christian metal band and that. And I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this right. And like, I felt like my lifestyle at the time wasn't good enough to, like, yes, I was and still am a Christian, but to play and be on stage and, you know, be doing that, I was like, am I like good enough to be doing that? If that makes sense. Like my lifestyle doesn't really reflect that at the current time. And so I'm like, but I was like, I'll think about it. And then like there was this voice in my head. I feel like it was God saying, like, I gave you these talents, you need to use them. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna tell him I'll do it. And then I was like, I'll do it, but let's do it like, let's be a Christian band, but let's be real. Let's write about our struggles. Let's be real. And that's basically where the name Convictions came from. So I can't remember if it was me that first said it. I think I get credited for it, which I'll
Yeah.
take. But yeah, we were just like, let's do it, but let's not be like fake about it. Like we all struggle.
Yeah.
We all feel like we're, pieces of crap, but we want to do this Christian band thing. So let's do it and let's be honest about it. So yeah, that's the short version, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've absolutely loved how with Convictions it's very much very real with the lyrics,
Mhm.
and it's like I think when I first heard it, it was a bit uncomfortable how real it was, but
Yeah.
as I kind of as I think I got more real myself with things I was dealing with, it just became so life bringing to be able to listen to things like that. So thank you for doing that.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. And that's the thing too. We were like, as Christians, we still struggle with stuff just
Mm,
like other people do. Like we don't need to put on this fake front, like
yeah.
our lives are perfect. We don't struggle with anything, you know, like so we were like, no, let's be real about it. Like that's why we need our faith.
Yeah. So what's your faith journey been like? Like how did you become a Christian and what were points where your faith changed into what it is now, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I've been raised in the church like my whole life. My family from like when I was born, my mom and dad would go to this Lutheran church, and then they probably when I was 5 years old, they started going to like I guess nowadays you would say like non-denominational,
Yeah.
where they play, rock music for praise and worship and stuff like that. So um I grew up in the church, and then I feel like the point that I was like truly saved was probably when I was 12 and I went to like a Christian Bible camp, and I felt like um, just because you grew up in the church doesn't mean you're necessarily saved. And I think that was like
Yeah.
the point that I was like old enough to know like the difference, like that I was truly saved, at 12. Um, and then of course my journey after that, I feel like everyone kind of goes through those phases where like, well, probably me in my teenage years, like I don't want to go to church because people are going to judge me, or like early college, like where I feel judged, so I'm not going to go. And, my mom's hounding me to go. I'm like, I'll go, but I want to sit in the back, and then I want to listen to the sermon, and I'm out of there. I don't want to talk to anybody. I think that's probably pretty common where people feel judged. And that's probably what I know a lot of times, like they say the biggest reason for atheism is Christians. So I can see where like that the way certain people act in the church can push other people out. I know some of the guys in my band have felt that way. Um, I never really felt that way, like one on one with people. I just didn't want
Mm.
to be judged, so I didn't. You know, maybe it was some shame too, because like my life wasn't like the perfect Christian walk, and I didn't go every single Sunday, so I just wanted to go when I wanted to, and then just sit in the back, not talking to anybody, and get out of there, kind of thing. So, I wouldn't say like I fully like fell away
Yeah.
ever, but I probably got very distant from God, and then when conviction started, um, I felt like I was getting closer to God. And then of course I've had peaks and valleys throughout convictions. Like, so I mean, with faith though, like with anything, it's a constant, like you have to constantly work at it, and constantly try to be better. I feel like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Because it's like you're not saved by your actions, but at the same time, faith includes trying to get closer to God, which kind of includes becoming a better person, if you want to put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I think that's kind of what I've found most helpful to think about it, because a lot of people look at it like it's you're trying to be good, but if the whole motivation is being good, then that's kind of not a great way for it to work. It should be around Jesus
Exactly.
and wanting to be closer to him. So I'm curious, with convictions, has there been many Christian folks who find it like offensive that you're like that heavy or that real or things like that?
Yeah. That's a funny question you asked that, because we do get like probably the most crap we get is from other Christians, which is funny enough. Like, so if you're familiar with our merchandise, we have the upside down cross on one of our t-shirts, to signify unworthiness, and like it's St. Peter's cross, you know. So and we've played some big Christian festivals, and there's been like some soccer moms that come up to us and like, you should not have that. What are you doing here? And I'm like, well, this is to, and I explained to them, like, it's St. Peter's cross. It's a sign of humility and unworthiness. She's like, I don't like, and they just don't get, I'm like, well, it's for us to be able to talk to people and spark conversation like we're doing right now, and share the gospel. So, and she's like, doesn't really know what to say, but I'm like, you're literally proving my point right now by talking to me about it. So that one was fun. But yeah, we've been in some weird situations for sure. Like we played a satanic biker bar one time. I don't know how that happened. And this was in Georgia, and it was just like, it was very dark, you know. And they had like skulls hanging from the ceiling, and like Baphomet mural like on the stage and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna play here? But we just kind of put our banner up and we played. And this was a while back when we first started touring. And then next thing you know, we're like praying with these big biker dudes in vests, and they're like crying backstage with us. I'm like, holy cow. It just goes to show like God can move anywhere, anytime. It doesn't matter. And, you know, like he uses the people, the broken people, like us dudes in convictions, to reach other people. So, I mean, he used Paul, who like murdered Christians, to write half the Bible. So like he uses, you know, he can use bad people for good things. So I'm not saying we're bad people, but you know what I mean? He can use anybody.
Yeah, exactly. The whole Bible is basically just people really majorly messing up, but God's being gracious and choosing to use them anyway.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah. So you've talked about your faith journey and stuff. How did you get into metal? Because that's not something that just happens. There's usually either like someone gets you into it, or you like slowly progress to the next heaviest thing or whatever.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like slowly progressing.
Yeah.
So like I would listen to, I basically loved pop punk in like my early teen years, like listening to like New Found Glory, Blink-182, Simple Plan, and like these like pop punk bands.
Yeah.
Or even some like punk rock bands. And that was kind of my thing. Whereas like Mike, our vocalist, was like at that time listening to like Slipknot and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was more of like the skater punk rock, pop punk. And he skateboarded too, but he for some reason listened to Slipknot and stuff. I'm like, that was like what the goth people listen to, you know, like I don't know, in high school. So but like then there, like I said, during like the MySpace era and stuff, there was bands that started kind of like blending it. It'd be like really catchy, but then there would be
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of screaming like in the background, or like a little bit of screaming here or there,
Yeah.
like Census Fail and like Silverstein. Like those are kind of like the heavy bands that I started getting into. Story of the Year. And then I remember like one time this record store was going out of business. Oh yeah, and Under Oath, obviously a big one. Under Oath,
Mm-hmm.
because they would have
Yeah.
like they would play this at my youth group, and it was like really catchy, um, like up against the wall, up against. I'm like, okay, that's super catchy, even though like there's a lot of screaming in the rest of the song. That's
Yeah.
what like kind of bridged the gap for me, was like these really catchy choruses, because that's what I um, grew up listening to. But then you like kind of just start. It's like an acquired taste. You start to
Yeah.
like the heavy parts too. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then, like I said, the record store was going out of business, and I got this August Burns Red CD, the first one, Thrill Seeker. I
Oh
got it
wow.
for $5, for $5,
Very nice.
because it was it said, it had a little sticker on there. It said for fans of like Under Oath, and maybe it said like Emery, because Emery was another one
Yeah.
really catchy and like had some screaming. And I'm like, all right, I'll try this out. Same record label, everything like that. And I put it in my car, and I was like, holy cow, this is heavy. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I listened to like a little bit of it, and I remember taking it out. I'm like 16 years old driving around. I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to that. Like, put back in something else. Driving around, and then like I remember like either the next day or I don't know, shortly later, I'm like, I'm gonna put that one back in and try it again. I found myself going back to it. Like it was so heavy, but I was like for
Yeah.
some reason drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like started really liking it. It was crazy. And that's like that song or that album's not really catchy per se.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy that August Burns Red was probably one of my first like heavy metal, like heavy albums. Um, like I said, because that record store was going out of business. So, and then back then too, like when you bought records, this is like before Spotify and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you spent your money on a record, so you either liked it or you tried to learn to like it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's a different now, because you can just, well, I didn't pay for that, so I'll just. It's crazy, but I kind of liked those days, because I would find bands all the time just by the little sticker on the CD, like, oh, you like these bands, you like this band. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and my that's like my I know Josh found a lot of albums doing the same thing. We talk about this as well. It's funny.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, I think with CDs and things, you kind of appreciate music more. And something that I've found is fun is to like check out a single from an album and then get this CD of it to listen all the way through, just because you
mhm.
appreciate it differently. And yeah, I've just found that that's a much more gratifying experience. I know a lot of folks are into vinyl, and I'm just like, I don't want to pay that much money for my
Yeah.
music, but I can see why that would also be a cool one. And with metal and things, people always say that it's an acquired taste, but myself, I went from listening to like stuff like Striper and things, if you know them,
Mhm.
to like I checked out Living Sacrifice and For Today and instantly loved it. So
Mhm.
just because I was bored one day and I'd asked a friend what would be heavier than heavy metal, and they're like, oh yeah, there's this thing called death metal, which is terrible, but you can check it out anyway. So one day I was like, right, I'm gonna look up Christian death metal bands, and Living Sacrifice, and for whatever reason For Today came up, even though they're nowhere near death metal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's like I just got right into it versus for most people that like I got into this band and then that band and then that one. But
Yeah, I feel like most people have stepping stones, but maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe a lot of people just go right into it. But
yeah,
I feel like it's not like a gradual thing though either. It's kind of like you find it and then it's like this. Because
yeah,
I feel like I've always loved metal music. You know,
fair enough. Yeah,
like I feel like I always have, and even though I'm like no, because when I was 13, all I listened to was pop punk, but but I feel like I've always loved it. You know, I still love it. So
yeah, like you want to listen to like the heaviest thing you could, even if that wasn't really metal in any way.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think with everyone that I've kind of asked about how they got into metal, they always say it's gradual and that like the screaming is always the biggest hurdle to get over for them.
Yeah, it probably is because you hear like a lot of like older people say, "How can you listen to it? It's good, but the screaming." You hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I had someone ask recently, how do I listen to metal and not cry from being yelled at? So
that's good.
yeah, it really is. It's just like, well, I've not heard that one before.
I don't
So
know if I've heard that either.
yeah. So I'm curious, what's it been like touring in a small metal band all over the world? Like, what are some interesting stories that you could share with people, and what's it like on
So
a daily
touring,
basis, if
like,
there's anything that
so
stays normal?
yeah, so day to day, it's like touring is a blast. It's
Yeah.
like it's like highs and lows as well because you're on the road and there's like everyone's like, well, don't you like party or like whatever? I'm like there's no time to do that. We don't have a driver, we don't have a manager or whatever. Sometimes there's a tour manager. Usually it's a member of one of the bands or whatever. But our day to day is like this. Wake up and drive to the next gig, load in, set up, sound check, talk to fans after the show, we'll pack all of our stuff, go grab some food, drive, park, sleep, repeat. And it's like, it feels like it's just nonstop. Like there's
Yeah.
like no time to really like think, you know, and sometimes it wears you down. It's like you're just sleep deprived sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're lucky, we'll stop by we usually stop by like a Planet Fitness, which I don't know if you have those out there.
I don't think we do.
In the UK, it's just like a big it's just a big gym. It's like nationwide here in the US, and you can pay like $20 a month and use any of the gyms. So we'll go there and that's how we'll shower. So otherwise it's like $10, $12 for just a truck stop shower. So,
Oh wow.
you know, yeah, we'll do like $20 a month at Planet Fitness and we can work out if we have time, which is rare. And in our off days, our band likes to go see movies. Like we love to go to like a mall, walk around, maybe do some shopping, and then go to a movie at the mall. That's like our perfect off day. So it's like something about it. Like I don't know if it's like we're finally gonna relax and watch like TV or something because we're on the road. So that's kind of our off day. But yeah, I mean, I'm usually a night driver with Mike, and then Josh is usually the morning driver. Wakes up early, gets his coffee, makes like 8 stops. We're like, let's go.
Like pet stops or
like coffee, take a pee, then like take a poop, then get more coffee. It's like I'll wake up and be like, why have we stopped so much? We built these bunks in our van as well. So we drive a 15 passenger van, and like they're like little coffins, if you will. You don't want to be you don't want to be very like claustrophobic, because I'll
Yeah.
sleep and I'll be like this close to the ceiling because I have like the top bunk. It's crazy, bro. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's like something that we definitely miss, because with COVID and everything, we haven't. It'll probably be 2 full years before we actually get back on the road, because we're talking about doing a March tour, and we were on tour when COVID hit. When everything started shutting down, we were on tour. So in March of 2020. So, and it'll probably be March 2022 before we actually get out there and play again. And it's just crazy, man. Because like most of these songs, we haven't even like played live or really even like sat in a room and played together, which is freaking crazy, bro. Like we went to playing songs, 100 times together. And then now we have this album that's been out for 6 months that we've never played together.
Yeah.
Like we recorded it, but we haven't like played it in a room or on stage together. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, that would be really bizarre to have all your other albums, like as soon as you release them or whatever, you're playing them together. And then with this one, you're waiting like 6 months and you see everyone's reactions to the music, but you don't get to perform it live or with each other.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a mental, it's kind of taken a mental toll on us a little bit, for sure. Because it's like we see the online response, but I don't think, and sometimes you don't see that every day. Whereas on tour, you see the crowd react, you see the people come up to you, you kind of see the fruits of your labor on tour. And since it's been 2 years and it's like we put out a record, it's almost like, are we doing anything? Are we, is this impacting anybody? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we still sell our merch. I send out all of our merch. I got it right here. I can show you it if you want.
Oh, nice. Right, let's see it for all the folks watching the video.
So this is basically Conviction's headquarters, sorta.
Yeah.
This is our merch headquarters. Our headquarters is in Ohio, which that's where we practice at my parents' house. Before tours, where we have the van and trailer, where my tour kit is, everything is there, which we can give you a tour of that at a different time. But for this would be, I guess, let's say our shipping hub. Yeah. And I live in Denver, Colorado. So let me flip the camera around here. All right. So here's our shipping hub. I got some of our wing breakers right here.
Beautiful.
And then I have some of our records on the wall. I'm missing the last 2. Yeah. And then of course, like this article from AP, all of our CDs and vinyl, some shirts. It's not very organized right now.
Yeah.
Some of it, the top shelf is, but, and then some shirts. I kind of have them organized by size, some of my shipping packaging, and some more stuff here, a pillow.
Beautiful.
But yeah, like all the records. These are all the I Won't Survive records here. Since we did that one on our own. We also did these 3 on our own. I Will Become and Hope for the Broken, which I'm missing up there, is those were on In Vogue Records. And then this is like my little hub. It's not very clean right now. And then I have a little TV center. And then boom, there's my practice kit.
Beautiful.
So this is where I jam and write my stuff.
Hope for the Broken, like right here. So.
Oh yeah, nice. There you go.
Yes, I managed to get it for like £4 off of Amazon because for whatever reason they were selling it really cheap. So that was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder. That's crazy.
Because normally it's
Maybe
like at
somebody.
least a tenner.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So back to touring stuff. What exactly keeps you going on tour, and what are some crazy tour stories you can share?
Oh boy. So there's one that comes to mind, and it's hilarious. The guys might kill me if I share it, but I'm going to.
Okay.
So touring. What was the first part of the question? You want to know?
What keeps you going on tour?
Oh, keeps you going. Yeah, for me, it's definitely the fans that keep me going. Because even when I have like a bad day where I'm like really tired, really hungry, fussy, whatever you want to call it, the guys are button heads, whatever it is. You know, like we play a bad show, and then like we turn around and like the next day is amazing, and people come up to me and it's like, I waited, you know, all month to see your band, and you've helped me through this or whatever. I'm like, oh, thank God. You know, like it keeps you going, because you're like, that makes yesterday that was crappy worth it even. So definitely the stories that I hear from the fans, just playing live and seeing the reactions and everything like that, because people could be at home like watching Netflix, playing Xbox, doing something else, but they spend money to come to our band. Like there's so many, this day and age, there's so many other distractions you can be doing, rather than going to some dirty club to see my small metal band from Ohio. So that's what really keeps me going. It's cool. As far as funny stories, so there's one in particular where this is really dangerous too. I was driving and I had to pee really bad. And our old guitar player, Tommy, he was in the band for about a year or so. I had a McDonald's cup, one of those foam cups, and I'm like, he held the wheel and I peed in it, right? While I was driving. I don't know why. I should have just stopped. I don't know if we were running late or what it was. And then I'm like, I was joking around like I was going to spill it. And I put the top on. He's still holding the wheel. I roll down the window and I go to throw like it out the window. Also, don't litter. I don't do this anymore. So I go to throw it out the window, and literally the force of the wind takes the lid off, and my pee just sprays everybody in the back seats. We died laughing so hard. Almost crashed the van. I was laughing so incredibly hard.
Oh dear.
But I just sprayed the rest of the band with my pee. So that's a good story.
They were definitely. I want to say that they were pissed, but it sounds like they were just laughing at it.
Well, yeah. They were definitely pissed.
In one definition or another.
That's funny.
So, are there any slightly less risky tour stories that you have? Because that sounds like it's the king.
I mean, that's probably like the best, like the highest, like funny, like crazy story. I'm trying to think of like something crazy. We obviously have the story of our van getting stolen. I don't know if you heard that story.
I'm not sure I have.
Yeah, so that was a big one. We were playing this venue. We were playing the South by So What festival. It's in Texas. A big festival for like metalcore and punk and pop punk and stuff like that. And they do it just about every year. I'm not sure if they did it in 2020 because of the pandemic. But we were playing there, and we got our van stolen. There's a video of it online, I think, still. Like the next day, we kind of filmed like a little documentary style, so we could put it on GoFundMe and try to raise the funds to like get like replace all of our gear and stuff like that. Because right after that, we were supposed to go on tour with Like Monster Flames, and we had to drive pretty far, but we didn't like have our van, our trailer was gone, all of our gear, our merch. And I guess long story short, we were going to jump on a flight to go meet up with the tour, and just like our merch company was going to print some shirts and send them to the venue. We were going to borrow some gear from Like Monster Flames and just open the show like we were supposed to. We're just going to keep going, even though we like lost everything.
Yeah.
And right before we boarded the flight, the police called us and said they found our van and trailer. So we were able to go to the impound lot and get it out. No, they didn't break into our trailer, believe it or not. So we got our gear and our merch, but the van was like pretty ripped apart, like vandalized. We had some broken windows, and they flipped the windshield wipers around, so it scratched the glass. I don't know why, and they were running like all night. So like there was these big gouges in the glass, broken window where they broke in. They ripped the radio out, everything, and we had to have the steering column replaced because they hot wired it and like melted the thing. And so we couldn't, even though we got everything back, we were still stranded in Texas for a couple more days because we had to get the van at least drivable. So, and we lost like our 2 amp heads that were inside the van because we didn't have cases for them. Yeah. And we lost some personal belongings. Like we lost still quite a bit, but it wasn't a total loss, you know?
Yeah.
So, and we had raised like, oh man, it was something crazy. Like, what was it? Like, 15 grand, I think, overnight.
Oh, wow.
From our GoFundMe, it started going viral. And then we offered everybody like, hey, our van was found. We documented everything so people didn't know we were lying. Like we have footage of like everything, the van being towed out of the impound lot, the hot wiring and everything. So we actually offered people to have a refund if they wanted from our GoFundMe. But if not, we were going to use it towards like replacing, the gear we did lose, fixing the van. We had to stay extra at the hotel, like put it towards, and missing shows, like missed wages, basically, like put it towards all that kind of stuff. The flights we didn't take, we had to pay for still, stuff like that. So like, everyone was really, really cool. And like, we only had like to issue a few refunds, and it was like kind of a blessing in disguise when it was all said and done, even though it was crazy. It was so crazy. Yeah. Like we were just, at one point we were just all sitting in the lobby of the hotel room, just like praying to like asking God to like pull through for us. Cause we had literally nothing but like the bag on our back at this hotel, like everything was stolen. So it was nuts, man. That was one of the more like sombering stories for sure. That's probably the big one too. Like that's probably the biggest tour story. And we always sleep in the van, but this particular time, like family was in town and stuff. And I think Tommy's family was from Texas. My sister was at the time living in Texas. So like people pitched in and got us a hotel room. I think either Tommy's mom or something. Like we always slept in the van, but this one night, like we slept in the hotel, and it was crazy. And we woke up and everything was gone. So yeah, so we're very like cautious when we stay places now. Like even when we stay, like even sometimes when fans put us up, one of us stays in the van.
Yeah,
like it's just because we all got like anxiety about it.
That would make sense. Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Do you have any like people being crazy stories on tour or things like that?
Occasionally you get like the typical like super drunk person at the show who's just like won't leave you alone, and
Yeah.
that's weird, or they're usually just out of their mind drunk, or like it's sad, like somebody on the street coming up to you, and they're out of their mind,
Yeah.
and it's like it's sketchy because it's 2 a.m. and we're in a back alley loading our gear, like please go. Those are the sketchy parts of tour, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna run into on tour.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun but very taxing in the same way.
Yeah, it is. It is very taxing. It's like I've been I've been living for 2 years now as like a normal guy in the suburbs of Denver. So I'm like, and now I'm married. I'm like, how am I going to react to going back to that life?
Yes.
But I can't wait, and my wife can't wait either. She's like, get out.
She's like, we've been married for almost 2 months now. Yeah.
Go on tour.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first asked you to come on, I realized that you were getting married in a few weeks, and I was like, right, I'm probably gonna have to follow up on this at some point.
Yeah, I think I was pretty busy at that time because I seen I seen it, and I think I might have responded. I was like, yeah, let's do it sometime. And then yeah, I mean, I got married, went on my honeymoon. We even did some more songs with the band. I took
Yeah.
like a month off work. Yeah, we did a couple new songs and filmed some music videos. So those things are kind of in the works right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you followed back up with me because I remembered recently, I'm like, there was somebody that wanted to do a podcast with me, and then you popped back up, and I'm glad you did because I was like, I couldn't remember if you messaged me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it was. So
Yeah, it's like doing this whole podcast thing has been quite a learning experience because at first it was like really scary to ask random people if they wanted to be on my podcast, and now I've kind of realized if someone has not gotten back, it's probably just because they've forgotten or they're so busy and things.
busy, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I apologize. I was just really busy at that point
Oh
in
yeah,
time.
it's fine. Yeah. So
Yeah.
with your most recent album, I Won't Survive, it's definitely the highest quality thing you guys have put out. What was the process of making that like, and like beyond drums, what do you put into the songwriting process and stuff?
Yeah. So this album, it was like it took us like 2 years
Yeah.
to do it, basically from start to finish. And it started with the single Hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
And we decided let's go to Andrew Wade in in Florida, which, like I said, I had experience with him like years prior.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go there, and we started that single in like 2018, I think it was. Yeah, because and at the time John had stepped away from the band, so we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
Daniel yet. John had stepped away, and we're like, okay, we need to do something. And he stepped out fairly, like it was like right after we released Hope for the Broken, if not right before.
Okay.
So we were like, we need to kind of keep this under wraps. And still put out Hope for the Broken, because if we just tell everybody like John left the band and then put out Hope for the Broken, I don't know if anybody's going to care.
Yeah.
So we ended up putting out, I think we ended up putting out Hope for the Broken after John had left. So, and then for like that rest of that year, we did touring with like Volumes, and we did some decent tours where we had like Phil and Guy. And then we went and did Hurricane. We did all the instruments with it like later on that year. And then early 2019, I believe, is when we had Daniel fly to Florida, finish that song. Yeah. Or like it turned out so good. We ended up putting it out later that year, and then booking another 2 to 3 weeks to go back down there. And we ended up doing, that's when we ended up doing like The War That Followed Me Home, Wreckage, and Last Cell. We ended up doing like those three, and it took us like 3 weeks in the studio to do it. It was bizarre. Like the writing process is really different. Like we all lived spread apart in between Hope for the Broken and I Won't Survive. We all kind of moved apart.
Yeah.
Like I live in Denver. Josh lives in Indianapolis. Daniel, our new guy, is in Arizona. And then Mike is still back in Ohio.
Yep.
So we're all spread apart. So the writing process was different. Josh would like demo out guitar parts and send me like his guitar lines with like programmed drums. Then he would send me a version without the drums. He just sent me that, so that way I had an idea of what he wanted. And then I would sit in my basement here and write my drum parts for I Won't Survive. And then we took that 3 weeks in the studio to basically rewrite 3 songs, like rewrite them, like every note, every sound, every lyric, every little syllable. Like Andrew Wade basically tore our band apart and put it back together to create the songs. I mean, it's crazy. So that was the process. It was very different. It was very different for us because with Hope for the Broken and I Will Become, we did those in Ohio, and we all lived in Ohio. So for the process of those, we would get into a room together, write the songs, like jam them, more like old school, you know, and then we would sit down at like a round table, put like notes on a monitor, and like all write the lyrics together with like Hope for the Broken and I Will Become. And then the lyrical process was different for I Won't Survive as well. Mike sat down and interviewed like the people that the songs are about. Like The War That Followed Me Home, like a war veteran, one of our good friends. He comes out to shows all the time down in Florida. His name's Corey. Like he basically told us what it was like and being in combat and stuff like that. And so that's where a lot of the lyrics and the inspiration came from, was Mike's conversation with him. And that would be one example of The War That Followed Me Home. And then like Last Cell is about my buddy Greg. We still have a video that we need to release about that one, actually, where I interviewed him and he told me like what it was like to deal with cancer at a young age and having his family, his wife and child, and what his thought process was. And that's where like Last Cell, basically a letter to his daughter in case he doesn't make it, because that's how he felt in that time. Even though since he's been in remission, thank God. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Last Cell is the most underrated song on the album, because in my opinion, it's the one that emotionally hits the hardest, but it's got like the least plays besides Everything I Never Told You. and stuff.
Yeah, which is just a instrumental that we kind of put together last second.
Yeah.
That song, the instrumental, and that like tongue in cheek, where it's like everything I never told you because there's no lyrics.
Yeah.
That's where that title comes from. But yeah, I would agree. Like Last Cell is underrated because of the emotional emotion in it. I think maybe because it's at the end of the record,
Yeah.
maybe people don't always get all the way through.
That's true.
That's usually something that we see with our albums. Like usually the songs towards the end don't have as many plays. That could be common for most bands. And we didn't really push that one as a single either, where all the other ones I feel like we did. So.
Yeah, I'm getting slightly distracted by my siblings being loud in the room right next to me. I'm not sure if you can hear them or not.
Oh, I could kind of hear some chatter in the background, but
yeah, one of them just yelled, "Sorry, Elijah."
That's funny.
So if you hear any background noise on this, which you probably will, that is my siblings having bonding time. So yeah, I think that's probably the reason why Last Cell didn't get as many plays, but I think it's a shame because it is a really powerful song and it ends the album really well. But yeah.
Yeah, that I think that's why it's at the end and we didn't really have a single or a music video, whereas most of them I believe we did.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Teeth, but that one got really good playlisting when the album dropped. I think we submitted that one. So, and it was tricky because this time we only had 7 tracks and we had put so much time, like I said, 2 years and money. And my goodness, we put so much money into this. And we were like, we got to put out an album. Like COVID hit. We're not signed anymore. We just need to put out an album. So when we went back to Andrews for like a third time, that's when we did Teeth, The Price of Grace, and Everything I Never Told You. And that was kind of like, and it took way less time because we knew what Andrew was looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were like more prepared, I feel like, going in the second time as well. So, but yeah, and then once we finished it, we're like, all right, we got to put this out. And I'm really glad we did. So we're probably going to put out another release in 2022, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're going to shoot for it. We're going to shoot for it. We got 2 songs done, so we have to probably do another batch of songs. And this process is again so incredibly different.
Yeah.
Like with this one, with this process, we're going to a different producer in Michigan. His name's Lee. And he basically is like, you guys don't have to come in with anything. We can write everything from scratch. And I'm like, we've never done that. We have like always had some sort of idea of song structure, maybe some lyrics.
Yeah.
And literally like we had like some ideas for lyrics and like I think Josh had like a riff or 2. It was crazy. And then we went in there and did these 2 songs. And I mean, we just worked for like 6 days straight in the woods in Michigan. And it was awesome. These songs turned out really, really good. I'm really, really excited because it's like, it still sounds like Convictions. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm really excited. So.
I'm curious, what was it like with I Won't Survive? Like, numbers wise, it seems like it was the most successful thing that you guys have done, but you weren't seeing that on tour or anything. So like, was that part of it really weird to see that you were getting a lot more people listening to your music but you weren't actually seeing that in person.
Yeah, that's really weird. I think it was a good time for us to release an album
Yeah.
because people couldn't go to concerts even if they wanted to, you know? So I think that actually helped in our favor. Like people were listening and ingesting content more at home. So we're like, yeah, this would be a perfect time to put out a record. It is bizarre though. Like you said, our biggest release was on our own, like with no label help or anything.
Yeah.
No touring. So it's pretty bizarre. I guess I haven't really had the time to sit back and think about it that way, but it's crazy. This next album though might be on a label.
Yeah. Like
that's all I can say.
Like you can't disclose or you're undecided. Or how do you want to put that?
We're like negotiating, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing is set in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very close. I think it'll be cool. I think the fans are really going to be excited. So that's all I can say.
Yes. So I got a 13-year-old girl named Angeli into your guys' stuff. So she was really excited to hear that I was getting you on the podcast, and she wanted to say that she loves screaming along to your guys' music and stuff. So shout out to Angeli.
Thanks, Angeli.
So, and she also wanted to ask, when's the new album coming out? But you've kind of already said you're aiming for 2022.
Yes, we're aiming for 2022, but I guess that would really depend on when we actually finish the record, because the record's not even finished.
Yeah.
So we're aiming for 2022. We also have some touring plans for March and July here stateside. I don't know when we're going to be able to make it back over there, your guys' way. But yeah, that's kind of the plans right now, is a couple tours for spring and summer, maybe something in the fall. And somewhere in between there, we got to finish this record.
Yeah. Whenever you guys do come out to Scotland again, I'll figure out how to get myself there.
Yeah. I would love to play Scotland again.
Yeah, what was that show like, if you remember?
So I remember eating Papa John's at the menu after. I do remember that. It was really fun. It was fun. I do remember. I remember it being a pretty good show, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. One of the better ones that we've played over there.
Okay.
Because the UK, I mean, we played a couple shows and we didn't play. I don't think we played Scotland in 20. No, we did. We did play Scotland in 2019. No, we played there twice.
Yeah.
So I remember eating the one in 2017 was better, because we were with Hotel Books.
Oh, aye.
If you know that band or anything like that, so I think that show was a little better. And then the one we played in 2019 was smaller. I think the venue is all like kind of like a cave, all rocks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm trying to think of the venue we played. I'd probably have to look it up. But yeah, maybe I can look it up.
Yeah, it sounds like quite an interesting venue.
Yeah, it was like a cave, if I'm thinking of the right one. So it was rounded like this, and it was so incredibly loud in there because of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't terrible, but we've played some bad shows in the UK. We have. I don't know what it is, you know?
We're too reserved.
But then we've played some, I think so. Then we've played some very, very, very good shows, like once you get over to like Germany and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, all the metal bands say that Germany is the best place to tour.
Yeah. Huh. I can see that. Man, I can't find it right now, but I'll probably have to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm just searching Google for our tours. But anyways, I'll probably have to get back with you on that one. I can't remember. It was over 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it
Dang,
would be.
man.
Yeah, I remember, if you know Chris from Not Your Typical Christian channel, he did a wee video about going to your guys' show as his first Christian metal show and stealing your guys' set list and
Yeah,
stuff. So I think I might
at
have
the
realized after that that you guys were in Scotland that year, and it was like, oh dear, I missed that.
yeah, I think we met him too.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there wasn't. I don't think there was a ton of people at that show, the one in 2019. So that was a smaller tour. We didn't do too well, but then we made up for it. Like I said, we went over to Germany.
yeah. It'd be Germany is gonna be an interesting place to go to because I'm homeschooled, so one of the other homeschool families in Scotland, their mother's German, so their house runs like the army pretty much, if that makes sense, because that's kind of what you'd expect from German folks. So it's going to be interesting to actually see what that place is like compared to the UK.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. The fans just go nuts in Germany, you know.
Yeah.
And then compared to like we went to a show in the UK one time. We played a show, and I'm not even kidding you. This these people were like, "Oh, you're in Convictions," and I was like, "Yeah, are you coming to the show?" It was like at the bar, but it was in the next room, and they were charging like £10
Yeah.
to go to the show, and they're like, "Oh no, um, it's too expensive," and I was just so like, I was like, "Wait, so we flew all the way over here and are playing a show in the room right there, and you guys know who we are, but you're not going."
Aye.
And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy."
It's like you can't pull a tenner out of your pocket. That's the most Scotsman thing ever.
I think that might have actually been in like England somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That could be.
Aye.
Yeah, and that's what I heard, that they're just very like you said, reserved.
Yeah. It's like with Britain and America, all the more opinionated, slightly crazy people left a couple hundred years ago, and you were left with the more reserved folks back in the UK who weren't bothered to find another country. So that's kind of what I found as the most reasonable explanation for the difference between America and the UK.
Yeah, like in America, like especially like Texas, people will drive like 3 hours just to have lunch with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like we can fly all the way to the UK and people won't come next door to watch us.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, that is really crazy, but cuz it's like you see American folks being like, we're going to do a big road trip to go to this festival or whatever, and here it's just like I'm thinking it'd probably be like the same distance for me to go down to England go to some shows, but yeah, I'd have to find someone to convince to do that with, which
Yeah.
maybe when I'm a bit older and more independent I'll be able to do that, but
Yeah,
Because I'm currently
for sure.
16, so it's not like here you have to be 17 to learn to drive and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But we've gone on for like an hour and 15 minutes. I think that was about how long I said you'd go. I think at this point I'm pretty much out of questions and stuff. But do you have any things you want, like any final words, things you want to plug, and things you want prayer for?
I just want to thank everybody that listens to my band Convictions, that supported us throughout the years. It's been a really crazy, incredible journey. Like we've never been that band to kind of blow up overnight. We've
Yeah.
kind of been like this slow burn, and it seems like it's always taking us very long to get to the next step. So I just want to thank you guys for being encouraging and coming out to shows and buying our merchandise online. That really, really helps us. Like streaming our music and buying our shirts online just really, really, it goes a long way for us. As far as prayer, just pray for, I just ask that you guys like pray for all of us in terms of um, like just mentally and just staying like focused and like making it through the pandemic till we can actually feel like we're getting back to some sort of normal, keeping us focused and grounded and just that sort of thing. Prayers for good health and and everything like that. So
Yeah. Aye. Thank you for coming on. It was a lot of fun. And hopefully I'll see you guys in person one day.
Dude, absolutely would love to. Hopefully we make it back over there in the near future.
Yeah, I realized about halfway through this that I was not recording video at all, so people will just have to imagine your guys' merch and how messy it is.
Oh,
But I'm sure.
well,
Yeah.
I can do a quick run real quick.
Yes, I will start recording right now.
Okay, you're recording?
Yes.
All right, this is the Convictions Hub. That's all of my stuff. And then there's where I jam.
Beautiful.
So, and there's some windbreakers. But yeah, there you go.
What happened was today I was figuring out how to record it so I could use my own microphone and then record the computer audio separately so that it sounded better. So I got so preoccupied with that side of things that I forgot to record on Zoom for the video.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Is this going to be on do you usually put your podcast on Spotify?
Yeah, it's usually on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc.
Perfect. Because we actually have a playlist that we put together, and you'll see it on Conviction Spotify if you go down to playlists, and we usually put them in order from most recent. Any podcasts, mostly Mike does them, but I have, I think, one or two on there where I've done. So do you usually do the drummers because you're a drummer, or?
I think kind of what happened was I was like, there's enough podcasts with Mike talking about the recent album and stuff. We need to get someone else talking about
that's
it.
a good idea. I'm sure he's probably said a lot of same things in them by doing so much. So
yeah, I think I listened to about 3, and by the end I was like, I think I've gotten some of those facts quite a few times.
I haven't even listened to him, so hopefully I gave a little bit a different perspective.
It was good.
So. Cool.
Yes. Again, thank you for coming on. And
thank you for having me, Elijah.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that wraps up this episode. If you listen this far, thank you so much. If you want to help other people find this podcast, or you just want to send a very meaningless shot of dopamine to my brain, then please leave a rating or a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye for now.